Hello and welcome from a very sunny Belgium with Jasper Stuyven on the front row. But of course, we're mostly looking at the world champion. It's a wide bib short day for Mathieu van der Poel, and you know what that means. It means he's eager to actually win this bike race. And this bike race is called the Super 8 Classic. We start in Brakel. This is Brakel. The home of the race director, Peter van Petegem, of course, the winner of both Flanders and Roubaix in the exact same year as well, just as Raymond Impanis, who was the first name giver of this race all the way back. But now it's called for the first time the Super 8 Classic, and that is very Belgian, a beer. Because we have our finish right in front of the beer brewery. 203.6 kilometers. That is 3 kilometers more than we did last year. And here is our breakaway. We've got 3 riders with, in black, for Team DSM, Frank van den Broek. He's 22, he's Dutch. Mathieu Bodnar leading this group, 38 years old, from Poland for Total Energie. These are recorded images of earlier today with a crash with as most notable victim Abner González Rivera. And if you watched the race yesterday, he was also involved in that crash in the finish straight of the Kampioenschap van Vlaanderen, together with Matthias Norsgaard. Norsgaard didn't take the start, González did, and now he's on the deck again as Hodge is waiting for a new bike. He was also part of this crash. These are recorded images. This was about 30 minutes ago that this happened, and these are live images. I introduced the man in black, Frank van den Broek. It's a good name, 22 years old from the Netherlands. Second position, Jules de Wilde, the 23-year-old from Belgium. And in last position, the veteran Mathieu Bodnar, 38 years old for Team Total Energie. We are still racing in Wallonie, because this race takes place in 4 different provinces. We started in East Flanders in Brakel, and we make our way to Vlaams-Brabant, to the town of Boortmeerbeek-Wespelaar-Haagt. There you go. My name is José Bain, and with me is Brian Smith. Brian, what kind of race is today's race, the Super 8 Classic?
Well, you know, from the palmares of the riders that have kind of won here, even last year, the weather wasn't brilliant. We had a really good race, bit of a sprint come the end, and you know, it is lumpy, kind of breaks up a little bit. You know, most teams are here with a sprinter, some haven't, and I think with Mathieu van der Poel here, I think he'll be looking for a little bit more animation in the race rather than just going to wait for the sprints. We had a kind of sprinters classic yesterday, the King of the Kermes. And, you know, if you haven't seen that, go and watch. Really good sprint in the end. But yeah, we've got a mixture of good talent here, good kind of punchier riders. Mads Pedersen is here. Their team are riding on the front, trying to control things. So I think it will come down to some sort of sprint, though it's not an easy course.
This is Lennart Hofstede, one of the riders of the Jumbo-Visma team, and sports director Frans Maassen, who said in a pre-race interview that, of course, the composition of the team was supposed to be a little bit different, as we are now on the Ottenburg, Chaussée d'Ottenburg. They were supposed to race here with Nathan van Hooijdonk and Wout van Aert. Wout van Aert was a little bit ill earlier this week, and no risks with regard to an important goal for him next Sunday, or Sunday in 1 week, the 24th, at the European Championships. And of course, you know the story of Nathan van Hooijdonk. Earlier this week, he had a cardiac arrest while being in his car behind the wheel. He caused an accident. Luckily, nobody got seriously injured. All seems fine with Van Hooijdonk, but Frans Maassen, the sports director, said, well, we have to run a lot of tests because, yeah, getting a cardiac arrest as a young athlete is something to look into. Sadly, we had the same news about Wesley Kreder, a Dutch rider of Cofidis. And today I read a really long interview with Sepp van Marken in het Nieuwsblad in Belgium. Yeah, he had to end his career. Basically, he was doing a training ride in the morning, and in the afternoon he heard that there was scar tissue on the heart muscle and that he could not continue his career. So, yeah, the career ended in one day. But he said, I was lucky, and I'm really happy that I didn't have to go through what both Wesley Kreder and Nathan van Hooijdonk went through. And Sepp van Marke, of course, will be a sports director. Well, they are on Ottenburg as well, and we have action straight away. Lotto Destiny here, Brent van Moer, Victor Kampenaerts, and following on his wheel is the world champion, Mathieu van der Poel. Van der Poel, who was very much off the mark in Grand Prix de Plouay last week, was a lot better on Wednesday in Wallonie, just finishing out just outside of the podium. And he said, Brian, the most important goal for me is now next week, where the Olympic mountain biking test event takes place on the Olympic course in Paris. And he said, I needed that little bit of racing to get better. Of course, after the World Championships, there was a little bit of celebration. You have obtained a huge goal, but he needed to get back into focus and do a few of these races. And this is quite reassuring, what we're seeing right here.
Mathieu van der Poel, he never holds anything back, good or bad. He'll race till he drops, pretty much, and he'll race hard. We've seen some riders come back after a little bit of a break, maybe not quite having the legs in the end, but that's why he's world champion. He goes out there and just races his bike, and if he wins, he wins. If he doesn't, he doesn't. We've seen him kind of blow up in the past, but this is what I was saying just a moment ago when you asked me what sort of race. There's a few teams here that really kind of interested in kind of breaking up, animating the race. Victor Kampenaerts here, being one of them, and Lotto Destiny, Van Moer is just about to attack on the left hand side as well. So they've not really got a big sprinter, good guys that can finish. So that's why they want to animate the race. The world champion Mathieu van der Poel, he would like it like this as well. Although I don't know what the form is like, but he's just in here. He's in the front and he's prepared to race.
Yeah, we've got some great weather today. A very early breakaway with only 3 riders, but that is about to end really, really soon. Last year the breakaway was considerably larger, but we had the same kind of race with a sprint in the end, with Jordi Meijers winning the race ahead of Arnaud Demar, Max Kanter, Kenneth Van Rooij and Guillaume Boivin. This year, of course, we have a new place on the place on the calendar is exactly the same, but the World Championships were a month earlier. Normally, this would be one of the last races to hone your form in preparation for the Worlds, and this year that has kind of changed. But they still have 12 World Tour teams on the start line here. And Israel Premier Tech, Lotto Destiny, who technically are not World Tour teams, but it's a fantastic field here, and a little bit of an attack by Vermeers and Van Moer. Johnny Vermeers. It's great to see, Brian, that the game is afoot.
Yeah, they've started attacking. About 80 kilometres ago, Gianni Vermeers here for Alpes in De Koning. He was the one that kind of really instigated it himself, and Brent Van Moer of Lotto Destiny. But it's been shut down behind, you can see, from Soudal Quickstep. Looks as if Israel getting involved there. We saw a glimpse of the team of Jumbo-Visma as well in the yellow as well. So, they had to kind of change plans, as, most teams have to do. When you've got an injury or illness and things like that for some of the team. So this part of the race is always going to be animated, but unless it's the right combination of group that can go away to the finish, then most people are looking for that kind of sprint finish. And little trick of the team that been doing a lot of the kind of riding today, trying to control things. Sizable group all kind of coming back together, but on that previous climb there it split up quite considerably, so it just goes to show you that when the race goes, bang, gaps do open, but if you don't persevere with it, it tends to regroup.
Yeah, and that Chaussée d'Ottenbourg, as it was called, is the first of 10 climbs in the final. In a couple of kilometers, we end up on the Moskestraat, which you might remember from the 2021 World Championships course. That steep but short cobbled climb. We also have Holstheide Smijsberg and the Bekerstraat when it comes to the climbs that were part of that 2021 World Championships course. Of course, won by Julian Alaphilippe with that very powerful attack, and the race basically starting at 160 kilometers from the finish line. All the action starting really early that year in 2021. Yeah, these three riders, Gilles de Wilde, he's a little bit of a specialist when it comes to being in breakaways. The 23-year-old big brother of Julie de Wilde, part of the Flanders Baloise team. We have Mathieu Bodnar, who, despite the fact that he is 38, this is his first time racing this race that was previously known as the Primus Classic, Grand Prix Raymond Impanis, Peter van Petegem, two riders from the region, two Flanders and Roubaix winners. And Frank van der Broek, who is a new name on the block, and it's a name that you will hear more often in the future. Of course, Frank van der Broek is quite a well-known name in cycling. It's spelled differently. It's a completely different rider, and he's a little bit of yeah, he came into the sport a little bit later, and one of these riders who really suffered from the COVID pandemic that really hampered his progress into the sport. He's also born on the 28th of December, so when it comes to the ranks, he's always almost the youngest in his age group. But he really made a name for himself earlier this year in French races, and also, yeah, one of the last man standing, actually, at the Dutch National Championships, racing for a continental team called A Block. And that race, especially that National Championships race, both the time trial and the road race, earned him a contract with the DSM development team. And that's where he is now since the 1st of July and will be in 2024 as well. Frank van der Broek, we have a new Frank van der Broek in the peloton, albeit a completely different rider. We have a few former winners here as well. We just saw a little counter-attack of Florian Sénéchal. He won in 2021. Matteo Trentin here at the front, a winner in 2017. Jordi May is not here. Bora Hansgrohe, one of the World Tour teams, not at the start line. Another important name, Brian, is Arnaud Démare. He was the runner-up last year, of course now racing for Arkea Samsic, and already well positioned at the front because the peloton knows this climb. They know that it's very narrow, and they know there will be attacks.
There will, and if you miss the split, you've got a lot of riding to do afterwards. You know, I don't think this is the key moment of this race today. 73 kilometres to go, but it can go either way. You know, a large group can go on the attack if it's the right combination. Then there's a possibility of it going to the finish. But more times in this race, it kind of comes back together for that kind of sprint finish. But yeah, the pressure of the peloton bringing this gap down, and even in the front of the race, this is such a hard climb. It kind of breaks up the rhythm, and you know, it's very hard to kind of stay together. So I think there will be a lot of regrouping over the top of this one.
Frank van der Broek is going to be the first on the Moskestraat. Gilles de Wilde and Bodnar is about to get caught as Victor Kampenaerts goes again with Mathieu van der Poel on his wheel. And we have the running gag here in Dutch media, Dutch Twitter, that if Mathieu van der Poel wears white bibs, whether that was as a Dutch national champion, cyclocross or whatever, he means business. And that is exactly what happens here. Matteo Trentin is there as well, and it might actually be Per Strand Hagenes there, but we'll have to confirm. They have a lot of youngsters on the team for Jumbo-Visma, a little bit of a mix of their development squad and the World Tour team. If you want white bibs, they will be available, I've been told, quite soon in the web shop of their clothing sponsor, Callas, so you can get your replica kit, including your white bibs, Brian. I'm just not a fan of white bibs. Matt Stevens said the other day, it's you can't wear white bibs. What's your stance on the white bibs dilemma?
if you're a professional athlete, you can use white bibs because you get many of them. But if you buy them and you use them for a year, they're not white at the end of the year.
This is true. Yeah, I didn't actually think about that. Is this weer een skuld? Nope, it's not. It's Resol, I think, the man with the mustache. But yeah, the cleanliness of white bibs is actually a really good point. 2 riders left of our breakaway of 3. There is Bodnar about to be caught by that group that went on the attack on the Moskestraat. Trentin, Van der Poel, Kampenaerts are 3 of the riders I managed to identify. We've got 1 Jumbo-Visma rider there and 1 for Israel Premier Tech as well. 2 riders didn't take the start. I mentioned Norsgaard, but another rider is Biniam Girmay, which is sad, of course, after his fantastic year last year. The season of the Eritrean rider has been hampered by crashes, bad luck and illness, and he didn't take the start today due to, I think it was fever, wasn't it? 71 kilometers to go, and it's time to start the engines, preferably, people. Just a figure of speech with Kampenaerts there and Van der Poel. And now Yves Lampaert at the front of the peloton with our birthday boy, Oliver Nase. Yeah, what are they going to do? Are they already going to spend the energy, Brian, to go and catch this little group? Looks like Seneschal wants to. Seneschal wants to.
Yeah, that's what the call was. Lampaert tried to close that gap, and he just went straight on to the radio that he didn't have the legs to shut that gap because they were, racing hard in front. He made the call, and that's why one of his teammates came straight up to the front to try and get across. So they reckon this is a dangerous break, and with Kampenaerts, world champion Van der Poel, they want to make sure that they have representation.
Well, Mathieu, we still have 71 kilometers to go, which is just over 1.5 hours of racing. I know you do your solos, I know you love it, but for us commentators, it makes life so much more difficult. But yeah, here we are. This might be a race-winning move already.
Well, definitely there'll be alarm bells. Mathieu van der Poel, he always puts on a show. He was, in the past, we had riders, from my 17 years of commentary, it used to be Philip Gilbert going with about 50 kilometres to go. Mathieu van der Poel is now going from 80 kilometres, 70, 80 to go. So he doesn't, think twice about doing it. Whether this is going to be the race-winning move, we'll have to wait and see. But he's definitely up for the race, and that's what I said right at the start of the programme. He will always entertain. If he doesn't come off with a win, if he blows up in the end, doesn't matter. He just loves doing this and trying to animate the race. And Trentin was good. He was very good there, and so was Victor Kampenaerts. And it was Victor Kampenaerts that instigated the original move. So we'll see what happens next. But it's good that Mathieu van der Poel has started to, whether he's just having fun or not, it's good that he started the attack now.
A little bit of a fan zone here on the Holstheide climb that we also know from the World Championships. Looks like Oliver Nasen at the front. We have Lampaert there, Søren Kragh Andersen, Dan Hole, the tall guy there for Lidl Trek, and then a pretty big group here on Holstheide. And the climbs come in quick succession right now, because 3 kilometers from this point we continue with the Smeisberg. Then 10 kilometers later we are on Florivalstraat, and another 5 kilometers later we're back on the Moskestraat for the second time, doing this little loop that we are on right now. Frank van der Broek, Gilles de Wilde, Mathieu van der Poel together at the front. There was a little bit of talk, Brian, in the media whether Van der Poel was going to maybe cut his road programme shorter this year because, well, he didn't feel all that good in Plouet. He, said, well, I'm not going to find my form on the road anymore. Everything is about that mountain bike test event to get used to the bike, to the position, to familiarize the course, of course. But after this race, after the test event next weekend, there's 2 more races on his program. The Franco-Belge on the 28th and, of course, Paris-Tours on the 8th of October. But he said before the start, well, I'm not sure just yet what I'm going to do after the test event. I need these races, the races that he did and the one he's doing today, to really get that form, to really get that rhythm, not form, to get ready for that mountain bike event. How much time do you actually, how much time does it take to lose form? And is that a week? Are you like, if you don't ride for a week, is it gone?
No, you don't lose much in a week, or don't lose anything in a week. I remember, or many people, they might not remember Paolo Bettini, the Italian. He used to take a week off, not touch his bike, come back, and okay, the first kind of half hour hurts a little bit when you go training, but you shouldn't get back into it. But then again, I know that people that ride every day, so it's what you want. I think for Bettini it was more of a kind of refresher, just come and race hard and then take. But that's in the days where we used to race a little bit more than they do now. So I don't think you lose too much form. Of course, over 2 weeks or 3 weeks, if you're off with an injury and things like that, you have to kind of really start doing something. And now when they're breaking collarbones and things like that, they're kind of back on home trainers and various things within days once they've had that kind of operation. So very important to keep the condition. But some riders can take a week, and you're not going to lose much form in a week. If it's mentally good for you, then fine. But Mathieu van der Poel, I would say world champion, sponsors, we're talking about, over the last few days, we've been talking about Jumbo-Visma and how they are able to, what they're doing in the Tour of Spain and how they're controlling riders and what the situation is. So I think there is a bit of problem. There's a problem here for the mechanical, but there is, it's tough because you want to kind of look after the sponsors as well, and it's good for Mathieu van der Poel to be here, to be in the race, and to be in television, and prepared to race. So there is a little bit of pressure in different parts for van der Poel. He can't just kind of look at maybe what he wants to do, but he has to do things for the team as well. And even while he's out here, if the other teammates can just kind of follow, because we had Gianni Vermeersch. He was one of the riders that initially kind of went on the attack and trying to kind of instigate something that never really happened. So with him in front, all his teammates can do is follow, but for the moment they're finding it hard to follow.
This is a young man of the development team, Warren van Geluwe, who is completely dropped here on the Schmeisberg. Lars Boven is the rider for Jumbo-Visma. We have Florent Sénéchal for Soudal Quick-Step. We have Riley Sheehan, the American of Israel Premier Tech, who's on a really good run right now. Matteo Trentin and Victor Campenaerts in pursuit. So 66 kilometers to go as two of the riders of the Lidl Trek team are making their way back to the team car, all to the finish line. But if you look at the map, we started in Brakel, which is just outside of Gerardsbergen. You probably know the Berendries. Well, that is Brakel. We are making our way to the east, and now we're gradually moving towards the north. So, they're probably making their way to the team car, the Swannies, who are right here. Two of the riders of Lidl Trek out of the race, as this attack by Mathieu van der Poel in the feed zone is almost eliminated. This is Mes Pedersen. Where is he?
Well, he's at the front of a group, trying to come back to the front of the race, and this is why Lidl Trek were riding earlier on. Maybe not got the form he's had of maybe a few weeks ago, coming back, but finding it hard today.
Yeah, he was on grand form, and I remember him saying in an interview, it's like, I'm just going to continue until this form ends. and maybe we have arrived at that exact moment right now. Great ride here by Lars Boven. We also have Brent van Moer there for Lotto Destiny, who don't have Arnaud Delis here, who was also ill. And of course, yeah, they're left with a formidable team here. Kampenaerts, De Buist, Van Moer, Frison, Livins, Seegaard and Florian Vermeers. Vermeers and Brent van Moer and Kampenaerts are the riders here at the front. The attack by Van der Poel has been neutralized 5 kilometers after it started. But yeah, nice little test run there for the legs, I think.
That's what he does when he's got the freedom to do it. Okay, a little bit more calculated in some of the races that he wants to win, but I think you translated the interview. He's not worried about winning in the World Championships. Most people would like to win, but he hasn't changed his style. He's still prepared to go out there and race, and that's why we love him and watching him race, because he goes out there and races like he has today. Might not be concentrating in roads, and there's a bit of a difference between concentrating on mountain biking a lot shorter than doing these 200-kilometer races. So, but it's his choice, and we don't want him to change. We just love to see him kind of race the way he's doing. But for the moment, these attacks have broken up the peloton. We've already seen Mads Pedersen trying to come back. I think he may come back if this kind of settles down, but it doesn't look as if it's settling down for the moment anyway.
No, all these climbs, they come in quick succession. The next one is in 5 kilometers from now, and the next time up the Moskestraat is in 11 kilometers. I think that might have been Søren Kragh Andersen. With number 96, we have Frank van der Broek still up there. Number 17 is Stan de Wulf. Number 33, Dries de Poter. And then we have, I think, Vermeers, Seneschal and Lars Boven. It's a little bit of a different field than we had yesterday with a lot of the continental teams, because this is a race in the Pro Series, so one category higher than the race Brian and I did yesterday. We discussed Caleb Ewan yesterday. He didn't mingle in the sprint, but he did win the Lotto Cycling Cup, a classification over 10 different races. So that was a nice result for the team. And Caleb Ewan said in an interview, well, I still assume I will be part of this team next year. I have a 2024 contract, but I think it's not been said about that just yet. Back to the racing here. We also have Mike Teunissen there at the front as Mads Pedersen. Yeah, this is not going to be Mads Pedersen's day, I'm afraid.
No, you can see the peloton in front, but and I don't really think that's the main peloton we're seeing now. I think there's another group behind. So Mads Pedersen looks as if he's in the third group in the roads. Because I was just looking behind this group, you can see all the commissaires there in the race vehicles. Well, behind that group, you just saw a glimpse of there was kind of no vehicles there. So it does look as if we've got a front group of possibly about 60 riders in it. But Mads Pedersen is not even in the kind of chase group behind. And by putting the team cars in, Josie, this gap is quite considerable.
Most definitely. This is Hulsberg on the horizon. Yeah, if we look at the program for Mads Pedersen, it's been absolutely chock full, doing of course all the spring classics in the top 5 in most of them. The Giro d'Italia up until stage 13, then the entire Tour de France. He did the World Championships, Denmark, Hamburg, and now Deutschland Tour. There is always an end to the form, but he still has a few to go, and also aims for the European Championships on the 24th in Drenthe. Volsang. We saw him on the attack in Wallonie on Wednesday.
Yeah, he's a big rider. Winner of some big races in the past. Liège, Bastogne-Liège, and it's just been a kind of shadow of his former self pretty much recently. And normally when Volsang was going on the attack, that a few riders would kind of track him down. Got a little bit of freedom there, but this is not a case of a team settling this down. There's a lot of teams willing to get in this kind of leading group and attack. Nobody's controlling anything here, and as often in races, it's kind of opened up. It was really Lotto Destiny that really kicked things off about 20 kilometres ago, just pretty much when we came on air with Victor Campenaerts, but nobody's seizing control of the peloton, and this is why we're seeing a lot of kind of multiple attacks.
We have Turgis there, Fuglsang, Johnny Vermeers, and from our original breakaway, young Frank van der Broek. Remember that name. This man will go places. Such a talented guy. But he said very candidly in an interview, I think I'm about 1 or 2 years behind in my development.
As long as he keeps riding his bike, he'll go places.
He'll go places anyways, yes. Mostly racecourses and airports. Here we have the confirmation of our 4 leaders. The always very recognizable Anthony Turgis, Jakob Fuglsang, Frank van der Broek, and Johnny Vermeers, the world gravel champion. Counter-attack there from one of the riders of Intermarché.
Yeah, I don't think Lotto Destiny will be happy with this one. Neither will Soudal Quickstep. It just means that, 4 teams in front, they're in the back foot. They have to do the chasing. The teammates of the riders in front can kind of sit on a little bit. Not a huge group, hence not a huge number of teammates left. So that's why we're not seeing a team control this race. They're attacking it. And what we're seeing is probing moves the whole time. And the group can go to the finish with 60 kilometres to go if it's the right combination, because there's very few teams here with big numbers.
Well, it's constant attacking now at 60 kilometres from the line. The next climb here in the Super 8 Classic is a short one. Well, they're all short. It's called the Florivalstraat. We're on a little bit of a local circuit around the Moskestraat and the Smuisberg. And if you look on the map, we are to the east of Brussels. So we started in East Flanders, in Brakel, past Gerardsbergen, through Wallonia, and now making our way to the province of Vlaams-Brabant, with our finish in Boortmeerbeek, just outside of the gate of the Haagd Brewery, who are the main sponsor of this race. So there will be beer on the podium, and as Peter van Petegem, the organizer, said, there's usually also a lot of beer after the race is done, and sometimes, he said in the road book, it's a tradition that it tends to get a little bit out of hand. Well, that will be tonight for the organisers and all the volunteers and the crew that help build this race. For now, we still have a little bit, just shy of 1.5 hours of racing to go, with a very dynamic race. We saw that short-lived attack by Mathieu van der Poel, and now we have this little breakaway with Johnny Vermeers, Turgis, Jakob Fuglsang and Frank van der Broek. And I must say, the name of Van der Broek is quite a common name. If you know your Dutch, it doesn't have anything to do with pants. Broek is the old word for a forest area in kind of the wetlands, the swampy areas in the west of the country. So that's what the name comes from. It has nothing to do with pants, which are also broek in Dutch, but 2 different things. Very active Team Flanders Baloise here. They are here with Elias Maris, Camille Bonneux, Sander de Pestel, Jenno Bergmoes, Gilles de Wilde, who was part of the breakaway, Wart van Hoof, and their sprinter Vito Braats.
This looks like Bono. It was a good ride in the Tour of Britain. Won a stage in it last year. Dominated by a certain team, but just been allowed to go. Can he get across on his own? That's the thing. A couple of more riders trying to come across, Bingo and Jumbo-Visma, but you can clearly see behind, nobody's got control of this. And you saw Seneschal for Soudal Quickstep come to the front, try and kind of close the gap a little bit. nothing really kind of happened, and we're getting a lot of the teams that are represented in the front four just kind of blocking the road. But I really do think that Sedal, Quickstep definitely, Lotto Disney, another team that aren't really kind of are not happy with this situation. We're still under 60 kilometres to go. They are on the back foot. They don't have the numbers first and foremost to go to the front and close this down, because as soon as they do that, then another attack will go and they'll be forced to chase again, not unless they get somebody in it. So it's big decisions for a lot of these teams, because this is a dangerous group.
Turgis, he was sixth in the race last year, so a race that that suits him apparently. Gianni Vermeers is always good on these short, punchy climbs that we have in this part of Belgium. We're not in the Belgian Ardennes, well, not in the Flemish Ardennes anymore. We're not in the hilly zone at Heuvelland, just outside of Brussels. Overijse is, for example, one of the races taking place here. There's a lot of races in East and West Flanders, but also quite a few here in Vlaams-Brabant, home to riders like Jasper Philipsen, Jasper Stuyven, Remco Evenepoel, all natives of Vlaams-Brabant. Counter-attack there by the Arkea rider Jente Biermans, followed by Lars Boven of the Jumbo-Visma team. 19 seconds. 4 kilometers from now, Brian, we're back on the Moskestraat, where the first really big attack happened that split the peloton. I think we'll see some more fireworks there now.
I think there's a few people waiting for this, because 18 seconds, 17 seconds, whatever is not a huge gap, and that can be cut down quite quickly. So, there'll be a few teams hoping that, the momentum just keeps on going and the gap stays down. Bono finds himself pretty much in kind of no man's land. Looks as if he's resigned to kind of going back to the peloton, but I'm sure there's a few people in here thinking, like, I'm going to go all in on the next climb and try and get across to the front of the race.
We have Alexander Kristoff also still in this group with number 181. All the way at the back of this group is Tom van Asbroek, one of the Belgian riders of the Israel Premier Tech team. Just show a brief attack by Riley Sheehan, who's been on good form also in the races in North America. An American rider on Israel Premier Tech. 23 seconds now for our first group. But there is another attack with Brent van Moer. Yves Lampaert quickly on the wheel. Looks like Biermans as well there for Arkea Samsic. And quite a big group with without the world champion. We do have Trentin, we also have Dan Hole, but we don't have any rainbow bands there. He's in this group, Mathieu van der Poel, in about 10th position. Helicopter zooming in. Of course, there's two teammates there up front with Gianni Vermeers in that first group. Number 15, we have our birthday boy, Oliver Nase. Tosh van der Zande, runner-up twice in this race for Jumbo-Visma. Søren Kragh Andersen in this group as well. Former winner Seneschal with 74. Jasper Stuyven, of course, there for Lidl Trek together with Matteo Trentin. Yeah, Stuyven would like to win this bike race. It's not really his home race. He's from Leuven, but Leuven is actually not that far. I also spot Aimé de Gent there for Intermarché Wanty, one of the riders of Tudor. Might actually be Rick Pluimers there, the young Dutchman. But back towards the front as we approach the Moskestraat again. Why was Turgis hitting the legs there, Brian? Why do riders do that? Is it already cramps?
Don't think so. I wouldn't think so, but then again, some of the races that we covered this year in the summer, that they tend to do that. I never did it. some riders just do it. It's just, I don't know. He might be feeling, not kind of feeling it at the moment, and trying to get a bit of feeling back in his legs. But you know, riders go through different periods within a race, and I wouldn't think it's overly warm. I think we saw it in the Criterium di Dauphiné earlier this year that, you know, in the first few stages, multiple riders were really suffering from cramp. But I don't think the temperatures here would be too much to worry about.
No, it's about 20 degrees. A little bit cloudy earlier this morning. We had a little bit of sunshine, but now it's cloudy. No rain on the radar, thankfully, because on all these short climbs, the technical little descents, it's pretty tricky. But 24 seconds at the moment for Fuglsang, Turgis, Van der Broek and Vermeers. And here is the Moskestraat, that little cobbled climb. It's only 300 meters, but it's a pretty steep one. And it's perfect to make that jump across if you still have it. We did see that group with Mathieu van der Poel come back to the front now. And Van der Broek was moving up. It's not as busy as we saw it in 2021 during the World Championships, but still a few people came out to watch the bike race. And there he is again in the white bibs, Mathieu van der Poel, quickly followed there by Florian Vermeers.
Do you know what, I was wondering why Gianni Vermeers was looking back there, and he constantly was looking behind him before the climb, and I'm thinking, why? They've got a plan, and this was what the plan was, that Mathieu van der Poel would, you know, sit in the group and try and come across pretty much on his own, and that's what he was kind of looking for. Matteo Trentin can't follow, Vermeers can't follow, so it's whether Mathieu van der Poel can get across to this group on his own.
Well, he bridged the gap to just 10 seconds at the moment. Trentin, the second rider, Florian Vermeers, the third, and then the rest of the field. Lampaert is part of this first group. Sénéchal is as well. And Gilles de Wilde, the man who was in the breakaway earlier today, struggling here on the Moskestraat. Also looked like Søren Kragh Andersen was there. But let's get back to the front. GPS indicates the gap between our four leaders and Van der Poel at 9 seconds. Straight after the Moskestraat, we have the climb to Holstheide. And then not that long after that, the Bekerstraat, the triple whammy leading up to the Smeisberg. Our final climb actually is at 19.6 kilometers from the finish, Brian. So if you want to make a difference, you have to do it quite early. Otherwise, you end up with a bunch sprint.
Yeah, that's the case. That's the strategy that these teams have to kind of look at. I think Vermeers will be sitting in at the back of this group of four in front, hoping that Mathieu van der Poel will come across. And, you know, he's taking, you know, a little bit of risk here. And he's just kind of waiting, kind of hanging around. And as soon as Mathieu van der Poel comes across, constantly looking behind. So that was the plan. Because it's not often that you get a rider in the breakaway. And Gianni Vermeers is a good rider, got a good sprint on him, and, you know, he's very capable. And sometimes some teams will give him that opportunity, but he's waiting for his team leader. As soon as he gets up, then he'll start to go to work. But they've not got a huge gap to the rest of the field. But as I was saying a moment ago, the rest of the field, no team has got big numbers at the front of this race.
Pretty clever sponsor placement there for Brustor, who is who returned to the team a year ago. Of course, an iconic name in cycling sponsorship as well. And he made his way across to the first four just before we end up on Holstheide. Great Canyon there in the World Championships colours, of course. They already have quite a big range of bikes in rainbow colours for Mathieu van der Poel, because he's a 5-time cyclocross world champion and the reigning world champion as well. He's not going to do the gravel world championships. His teammate Gianni Vermeers is the reigning gravel world champion. We are returning to Trente in the northeast of Italy. Course will be completely different than the gravel world championships last year. Lots more of elevation, lots more of off-road and gravel, and yeah, a little bit more of a gradual run into it. This is Vermeers and Lars Boven. Of these are.
Soudal Quick-Step at the front of the group now. It's only a matter of about, what, not even 10 seconds, but they have to get on. Looks like it was Yves Lampaert at the front, and they have to close this gap, because once they go over the top, you know, once these guys start get together and start riding, then there's a lot of strong riders here. You can just see Gianni Vermeers. He's just waiting for Mathieu Van der Poel just to get on the back there. And I think it's good that Vermeers is there, and Boven as well. It's another couple of teams that said that Lotto Destiny, I've kind of missed out, but a really big pressure on Soudal Quick-Step to do something about this. So it'll be a case of Vermeers goes to the front, keeps the pressure on, his team leader is there. I'm saying this now, it wasn't an easy ride across that gap. Normally, maybe when Van der Poel's got big form, that he zips across that, but he looks as if he struggled to come across there. He did in the end, but it's clear that he's not 100%, but even not being 100%, he's very capable of winning.
Yeah, this is all about testing the legs. This is all about seeing where he's at and what he can still do. Lampaert leading the chase there for Soudal Quick-Step. Quite busy here on Holstheide. We're on the climb, or just past the climb, of Holstheide. Mathieu van der Poel bridged across to the original 4 leaders. And Brian, there might actually be a look of fatigue there on his face.
Yeah,
it was not effortless, as you said.
No, it's more than a test. And when have you ever seen Mathieu van der Poel miss turns in a group like this? Because at the back there, you saw Yves Lampaert for Soudal Quick-Step tried to close it down. But behind him, you had teams with teammates in front. You know, you can see the yellow jerseys. He swings over, looks behind. This is AG2R Citroën, and you can see just spreading across the roads. This is danger. Intermarché not liking this, so trying to go on the attack. So there's a couple of teams with few numbers, but Soudal Quick-Step missing out in this one big time. And you know, so the question is, who's going to chase? A lot of looking around, and especially with so many riders in front and strong riders in different teams. And look at the size of the peloton, look at the colours. There's not, I would say Intermarché might be a team that has got numbers here, but do they have the legs to deliver? It's nip and tuck at the moment whether these guys are going to be brought back, and it looks as if this could be potentially, you know, the race winning move.
A little bit of communication there for Van der Poel to sports director Christophe Roodhoofd behind the wheel again. They also have his brother on the team, Sylvain Dillier, Kra Andersen, we saw him before, Senne Leijsen, Jakob Morechko, and of course this Gianni Vermeers. Good ride by youngster Lars Boven, who has been part of the development team of Jumbo-Visma for quite some time. He's the son of the sports manager, the sports director of Jumbo-Visma, Jan Boven. He's 22, and that means that, yeah, what's going to happen? Is he going to stay on the development team that he started when he was 18? Because, yeah, this is his last year as an under-23. So a few good results on the local circuit for Lars Boven, but this could be an important ride for him. And what about that young guy there in second place? Also just 22, Frank van der Broek. He was in our breakaway of 3 that attacked early on. And a breakaway of 3, Brian, it means that you have to do a lot of work in that breakaway.
Yeah, I'm just going to say 3 words.
Yeah.
Sign him up. He's clearly got it.
To the Wilton team, you mean?
Oh, anybody? I don't care. If someone wants to swoop in and take him, because This
He's
is not
the
an
real
easy
deal.
race. He's been in the front of the race. Mathieu van der Poel, the world champion, okay, not in 100% form, has struggled to come across to the front of the race. He managed to do it. He's put in 2 big efforts already in this race since we've been live. And that Van der Broek is still there and swapping turns. I was surprised when I saw him. He wasn't missing anything. He wasn't missing turns at all. He was just going through. His excuse is, I've been in the breakaway pretty much all day today, so I can miss a few turns, but he didn't. He never lost anything on that kind of previous cobbled climb. Looking at the front of the bunch, Lotto are happy. They've got their man here. AG2R, Citroën, well, they try to chase. They have got a couple of numbers there. Coffer is now coming. Intermarché don't have any. They need to chat. They need to talk. Even this bunch here is split in two because they're all looking at each other. But the problem they've got now is they've got Victor Campenaerts on the case. So if anybody tries to ride, he's just going to ride it down because they're happy with their man Vermeer's been there. So they're happy that they've got their man there at least. But Soudal Quickstep missed out. A lot of teams have missed out, but I really can't see where the firepower is coming to close this gap. 36 seconds, I can only see it going up.
Yeah, Soudal Quickstep, they're here with Lampaard. We've seen him, Seneschal, 2 riders in that chasing group. Stan van Tricht, who's on good form. Ethan Vernon, who missed out on winning a stage in the Tour of Britain because of Olaf Koor. Yannick Steimle, Michael Morkov, and we saw youngster Warre van Geluwe already getting dropped a little while ago. So now it's up to, I think this is Dries de Poter of the Intermarché 1T team. Quickly followed by Brent van Moer. Tosh van der Zande there in 3rd place as well.
This is just a case of look at the teams, three riders from the teams that are in, or 4 riders now, just closing that down. That's it. That's all they were doing, just upping the tempo a little bit, just close it down. Nobody else going. 45 seconds now. Fan across the road, just going to block the road now. Nice and steady, nice and easy. And that's the name of the game.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit more about Frank van der Broek. He comes from a town near Leiden, Voorhout. Grew up in the cycling club, the Bollenstreek, right between the big tulip fields. If you know the Keukenhof, the big tulip garden, that is where he is from. He was signed by Ablok while he was racing for the Jonge Renner, which is a talent team, an amateur team from the Netherlands, from Oosterhout. And yeah, already making waves in races with a little bit of elevation. He was 9th in Flèche du Sud. He won the Ronde de l'Oise, which is in France, beating the likes of former pro Alexis Couchard, for example. Then went on to that fantastic week of racing at the National Championships, a 6th in the Elite Championship for the time trial, the man of DSM in that first group, and then an 8th place in the road race on a very challenging circuit around Sittard Geleen on the climb of Waterslei. And it was only in the last lap that he was dropped with all those World Tour pros around him. And that was the moment that DSM said, well, we'll sign you up for our World Tour team. Won a stage in Kinghai Lake after being on the attack basically the entire day together with Stefano Candin, and then winning that stage with 1 minute and 40 on the competition. Did fantastic in the Tour de l'Alsace, where he also won a stage, and then went on to do the Deutschland Tour, where he was in the breakaway a couple of times and finished 16th in the DC in a pretty stacked field there in Germany. I'll post an interview with Frank van der Broek, number 96 there of Team DSM, a little bit later. He signed up for the DSM development team from the 1st of July, Brian, also for the 2024 season. But you say if they have a spot on the World Tour team, just bring him over next year.
No, I said any team, sign him up. if I'm watching this, from what I've seen so far, and there's a lot of, this race hasn't been easy. And to be in the regional breakaway and to do what he's doing now, brilliant. And I would say to anybody, he's already kind of shown in this race. I know a little bit about talent with my years of putting kind of teams together, but you want a rider like that, because most would have got themselves in that group and tried to kind of miss turns and use the excuse. He's not used any excuse at all, and definitely up there with the big boys and looking to get a good result today, because you can see at the front here you've got 2 riders from Intermarché. That's it. No other teams. Some teams have missed out, but they're not prepared to ride. So unless they ride, this ain't coming back.
No, this is the race-winning move. You called it there, and a minute right now. And as you analysed, and rightly so, Brian, who is going to bring this back? We saw that little attack by that little attempt by Dries de Poter of Intermarché, and it quickly closed down by teams who have riders up front. We're now making our way to the Beekstraat. That is, well, this one, exactly this one. You can still see the Strava indicators there on the road. On many climbs in Belgium, on the road you have a little panel of Strava, and it's indicated exactly where your Strava segment starts and where it finishes. So you can go all out if you feel like you need to do that.
It's gone dark.
It is getting dark, yeah. Well, it's not as bad as the team time trial in the Vuelta, but it's getting a little bit darker. Talking about the Vuelta, if you just tune in, and I can understand that you just did, because the Vuelta stage 20 just finished. Well, we still have the peloton to go, but the race, I'm not going to tell you.
Just testing.
I know that you're very sensitive about all that. This is the Super 8 Classic, 203.6 kilometers from Brakel, the home of Peter van Petegem, to the beer brewery of Brimershaagd in Boortmeerbeek. We had originally a breakaway of 3 riders, with the Belgian rider Gilles de Wilde of Flanders Baloise, Majes Botnar, Polish rider of Team Total Energie, and Frank van der Broek, a 22-year-old Dutchman for the DSM Continental team. They never really got a big gap, just 2 minutes max. The first time we were on the Moskestraat, which was at 73.4 kilometers to go, we saw a first attack by the world champion, by Mathieu van der Poel. Got a little bit of a gap. Frank van der Broek just hung on onto the wheel of the world champion, even took over. But that gap was neutralised, or that attack was neutralised. But the climbs come in quick succession right now. And we had a little bit of a counter move initiated by Jacob Fuglsang of Israel Premier Tech, followed by Victor Kampenaerts, Matteo Trentin and Lars Boven. And then Frank van der Broek thought, well, I'm just not tired enough. Oh, flat tyre there. Yep, you can feel it in the corners. I'm just not tired enough. I'm just going to bridge across, taking with him the world champion, Mathieu van der Poel. And also Gianni Vermeers is part of that first group. So 2 riders for Alpecin de Koning. And the gap at the moment, with an hour of racing to go, is a minute. And Brian, you analysed before, for the people tuning in right now, there's just not really a chase going on from the peloton here with Mike Teunissen.
No, you see Brian Coquard going on the attack there, and why? I don't think, is there any other Cofidis riders in here? He wasn't going to make it on his own, and trying to go on the attack is just fruitless as far as I'm concerned, because he's never going to go across on his own. And the thing is, if he had any teammates in the group behind, why didn't he get them to ride and maybe close it down and do what Mathieu van der Poel did and go across a 25-second gap instead of 55 seconds. But he did have that mechanical. He did ride well yesterday, but today there's a lot of teams found wanting behind, and Intermarché are one of them. They put 2 riders in the front, but these attacks don't help. These attacks don't help the chase, and now the chasing group, there's a little bit less. And of course, everybody is going to be worried a little bit. They know the world champion is here. Everybody knows what Mathieu van der Poel can do. And maybe he's not on a good day today, but it's always that case of maybe kind of saving a little bit out in the road, and I don't think they can afford to do that. They need to continue to ride. And I tell you what, from what I've seen so far, Fuglsang is riding well. He's looking strong. He's probably looking one of the strongest in this group. Gianni Vermeers in the Alpecin Deconic colours, he has to watch. He seems to be doing a little bit of riding because he's riding for the world champion, but it's better to have numbers there and kind of even things out a little bit, because they may need the numbers come the run in. But this group behind is split up. Still a little bit of indecision. You can see the shape of the group just in front, and you know, a lot of riders not kind of prepared to ride, and there's a lot of shutting down in the process as well. I say shutting down, what I mean is if you got a rider in front, you just follow the attacking riders, and they'll do their turn. When they flick the elbow, you won't go through.
The only problem I have with Fuglsang right there, Brian, is that our final climb is at 20 kilometres from the finish line.
I don't think that matters too much in a race like this. I really do think that, you know, even if he used to go solo, you know, on the attack, I was doing a race in a week in Italy, which Sivakov was successful. You know, he was there in Carapaz, and you know, if it's a hard enough race, if you get that opportunity, that even a slight rise, and you're strong enough, then you know you can solo to the end. But it does need everybody to still contribute, because mentally, if the gap is 47 seconds, it gives teams a little bit of inspiration behind. Once it goes over a minute and you see it in your head, you think, you know, that's too big a gap now. But it would be interesting to see, you know, the group behind us, to see who is there and what's happening, because it is holding about 46, 47 seconds.
Yeah, it's still not a convenient gap to the chasers. We still have quite a few teams with multiple riders represented who could close a gap like this in the final 20 kilometres. The final 20 kilometres from the Hulsbergstraat being, more or less flat-ish. We do have a cross tailwind, as far as I know. Let me see on Velo Viewer. Yeah, it's a crosswind, but it's only 6-7 kilometers an hour, so not really a big deal. But yeah, having a tailwind for a lead group is of course always beneficial. I'll give you the names yet again. Leading in the black of DSM is Frank van der Broek, part of our original breakaway of 3, still holding strong, the 22-year-old, the smallest of them all. We've got 2 riders for Alpecin de Koning with Gianni Vermeers and Mathieu van der Poel. We have Florian Vermeers, not related, of Lotto Destiny, Jakob Fuglsang for Israel Prematech, Anthony Turgis for Team Total Energie, and Lars Boven for Jumbo-Visma. That is the composition of our first group, meaning that, a few big teams missed out, most notably, as you said, Brian, Soudal Quickstep, with both former winner Florian Sénéchal and Yves Lampaert very active in the chasing group, but not really an organised chase altogether.
No, not to criticise them too much. When you've got 2 teammates at the front of the race, there's not a lot you can do. You can't chase. You're not strong enough to do it on your own, and it's a case of what you want to do. But I said quite a lot when we saw the helicopter shot. Look at the colours. Look at the teams that have got numbers here. We've got 7 riders in front, 6 teams represented. So any of their teammates behind, you can see they're quite happy. Right, now we get the team of Uno X, and I think they've got 1 rider here with Christoph. That's it. But before Intermarché were riding, Cofidis went on the attack there with Brian Cocard. So there's not, I said it before, in circumstances like this, when a good group goes away, you have to communicate with the other teams. Come on, you've got 3 riders here, put 1 rider, we put 1 rider up and trying to do something. Because if MD attacks now, they're going to be shut down with the teammates that are here. So the only thing you can do is try and kind of keep this gap down. And to keep this gap down, you're going to have to use your team. And from the colours that we're seeing, the different teams. There's not one team. I think Intermarché maybe have about 4, 5.
3.
But there's no team has got big numbers behind, and that's what you're going to need. You have to consider 7 here, right? So if 7 riders were to ride at the front of the group, that's holding the gap. 7 riders. Because if you put 2 riders up there, you have to ride faster than the 7 guys in front. So you have to ride faster than this. You can do it, but for a short period of time. So now we're seeing at the front of this very small, just look at the helicopter shot as we come down here. No big numbers of teams, right? You got Uno X, 1 rider. Intermarché, 1 rider. So these 2 riders, right, they can keep this gap at 55, 56. But how long can they do that for, right? They can't close it, but they're holding it. So they're riding as hard as the 7 in front. So 7 in front are getting a lot of rest, right? So they're getting a lot of rest. So
I think Intermarché have 5.
I said 5, yeah.
Yeah, Emme de Gent, Dries de Poter, Mike Teunissen, Dylan van der Stormen is there as well, and I think they actually also have Mats Mikkels still there. This is Jonas Abrahamsen, the one remaining rider with Alexander Kristoff, and then other riders with multiple other teams with multiple riders. Lotto Destiny, Lotto Destiny.
No, we're talking about teams that not got representation in front. So look at the colours.
Yep.
You can see 3 riders from AG2R, but you're not going to win the race if you don't sacrifice one of them at least, or even 2 of them. So you have to ride. You're forced to do this. You can't sit back, otherwise you're riding for 8th place. You know, there's no point. Lido Trek, maybe put 1 rider up, but you've got 1 rider left. But you don't have big numbers. UE only have, I think, looks like Trentin. Movistar have 1 rider. So it does look as if there are 2 teams with some numbers. AG2R Citroën and Intermarché. Well, it's a case of Intermarché started riding with 2, Jose, and then there was attacks, and they might take some. You know, some sports directors do this. Well, we're not helping you because you never helped us. Yep. And that's the wrong attitude to take, because you're not helping. You just have to put that to bed and say, look, we've got 5 riders here. We put 2 up. You put 1 up. Because it looks as if Kristoff, there's only him and Abrahamsen there, and he sacrificed that. That's all he can do. Gap now over a minute. Mentally, this is hard to shut this one down.
I'm so impressed with the little kid there. Well, he's 22. He's not a little kid, but Frank van der Broek. It's a phenomenal ride yet again. It does remind me of his ride at the National Championships, surrounded by World Tour professionals, and just holding on as a continental, a 3rd division rider, and as he's doing exactly the same right now. This is the Smeisberg yet again. This was also part of the 2021 World Championships course. It is the penultimate climb of our race. The last one is at 20 kilometers from the finish line. The gap is going up to the minute mark. We have 1 team with 2 riders up front, and then 5 lone rangers following. I'm not 100% sure if Mathieu van der Poel or Gianni Vermeers will have the biggest shot of actually winning the race, or that Jakob Fuglsang thinks I need to put a little bit of time into the others, because we've got 20 kilometers of flat road towards the finish line.
Fuglsang just came up there. He's just keeping every climb he's putting pressure on. You can see that he just wants to kind of sap that energy from everybody else. He knows he can do it. He knows he's better, or got better form at climbing at the moment. So just on this short, sharp climb, just put a little bit of pressure on, which will help him in the end.
Another team with a few riders is Lidl Trek. They have Stuyvenholen and the Latvian champion Emils Lipins in this group here. They're also climbing the Smeisberg as we speak.
obviously the last thing anybody wants to do now is attack, because it kind of breaks the rhythm. So they've gone up this climb. Fuglsang make a bit of an effort. Now he's prepared to kind of go over the top here. Just get everybody riding again, and this will go over a minute. And then we'll look at the front of the peloton, and everybody will just kind of be sitting up.
Oop. You see Sepp van Marken there on the side of the road. He is on bottle duty. Of course, next year he is going to be a sports director. He's going to enroll in the UCI course in Aigle later this year. But he has been doing some soigneur work. And yeah, the Swannies told him after he dropped a few bottles yesterday and on Wednesday, well, now you can see how hard our job actually is. And I do think it's good for sports directors to see in action what other staff members do to create understanding for each other.
Right, this is what I don't think Victor Campenaerts should be doing this. It's another carrot. We said once it goes over a minute, then it's a possibility. It might be a case of, and I'm not in any of the team cars, is Florian Vermeersch has maybe made a call out that he's not maybe feeling 100% in the group. This is an important race. It's all about, you know, trying to get the points, trying to get back up to the World Tour, but I just don't think having that carrot in front is helping at all. So I would have sat back a little bit more. So it might be in a call internally that Florian Vermeersch isn't feeling that great, and they think they need another rider to try and go across. And Victor Campenaerts is, you know, is the person to be trying to do that. But trying to do it is a different thing. Let's see what happens in the front of the race, because if Vermeersch starts to kind of sit on a little bit, because what you ask from your teammate is to try to get 30 seconds in front of the bus, get it halfway across, and then you say to the others, you know, Victor Campenaerts is coming. I'm not riding, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in front. But Little Trek are trying. Now it's pulling out, you know, other teammates with riders in front, and yeah, this gap coming down to 46 seconds now.
Yeah, we see Tim van Dijken now for Jumbo-Visma also participating in the chase. Dries de Poter is there for the Intermarché 1T10. This is Victor Campenaerts, the 31-year-old. He just recently won a race in the same region called the Druivenkoers. That was on the 19th of August, so almost a month ago. But this is, of course, what he does. And it's also what he did before that horrific crash earlier this year in Bredene Kokzijde. That was mid-March, and it took 3 months for him to return to racing. Was part of the Tour de France team and got himself a win this year. But yeah, this is disturbing the chase completely, but the gap is coming down, Brian. We've got one more climb to go. That comes 10 kilometers from now.
Yeah, it's coming down to Campenaerts, but I still think that it's probably about a minute to the peloton, but just gives you an indication of how hard Campenaerts went there, because Jasper Stuyven from Lidl Trek couldn't make it across, and he is a strong rider. Okay, he had a race yesterday, might be feeling it in the legs today, but for the moment, Vermeersch in the breakaway for Lotto Destiny, he's continuing to ride, so they're not even kind of thinking about. So Victor Campenaerts, whether he done it on his own, whether he got that call to try and get across, it would be beneficial for Lotto Destiny to have two riders here instead of one. Alpecin Deceuninck have got two riders, including the world champion. But then again, I think Gianni Vermeersch has to do, you know, equal. He doesn't have to do more, because I think he'll be needed in the end. In a case like this, when you get the world champion there, you try to do a little bit more. But it's better to have the different options. And for Gianni Vermeersch to be successful in this race, I think he has to have something left in the legs. And you know, any one of these guys can win this race. It's very much open, and it's who's got enough left in the tank. These kind of accelerations from Fuglsang and the climbs are kind of hurting a few riders, but I don't think he'd be too worried about if it does come down to the kind of last 5 kilometres of trying to kind of clip off, because it's not been an easy race. And you know, if you've got good power in the legs, whether you can do it on the inclines, whether you can do it in the flat, it still prevail.
He's now 20 seconds ahead of the peloton, Victor Campenas, but still 40 seconds behind our breakaway, or our leading group, actually, of 7. A little bit of conferring there between the Intermarché boys. We have indeed Emme de Gent currently leading. Number 36 is Arne Mare. 37, Dylan van der Storme, a rider of the Continental Talent team. Mats Mikkels is there, and
they've got another one.
No, they've got the entire team is there. And
so why didn't he ride earlier?
I have no idea. Mats Mikkels is one of the strong sprinters who could actually finish this off.
Oh, I don't understand some teams sometimes. Why not? There's 6 riders there. Just the only way that they're going to bring them back is they use numbers. But unfortunately for Victor Campenaerts now, the thing is he has to get distance in front of the peloton, and he needs to get closer to the group in front. Slowly he's getting closer, but I think the gap coming down now that Intermarché have got their act together. But I also have to compliment Uno X. They've got 2 riders here. They've put one rider in front there to help out the chase. Looks as if Cofidis at maybe getting the message as well. They've got Coquard here. I think he's made it back, and they've got one other rider, so they sacrifice your riders. But we said that AG2R have got 3 riders not prepared to sacrifice, and there's other teams with maybe 2 or 3 riders not prepared to sacrifice, which I think is wrong.
I found it really fascinating what you said before, Brian, that there's always these tensions between teams, like you didn't ride back then, so now I'm not going to help you. In Dutch, we have an expression called the memory of an elephant. And that is what sometimes happens in cycling. It's like, you didn't do anything for me back then, I'm not doing anything for you at the moment. But now there seems to be a little bit of a chase going on. We've got one rider for Cofidis there as well. We have yet to identify. I think I saw it was 27.
Liepens is going up as well for Little Trek. So slowly but surely. But we've been talking about this for, what, about 20 kilometres? That communication, just talk to the teams and say, look, we'll put riders up, we all ride together, because it does need numbers. If these guys are going to be brought back, it does need numbers. You're talking about 7 riders, so you have to have at least 7 riders just kind of hold and ride harder. So it's still going to be touch and go, whether they're able to bring them back or not. But when you get Victor Campenaerts, a bit of a carrot in front, when he went on the attack, it seemed to have a reaction with the peloton behind, and now they've kind of started to ride. So, you know, it might be a case of, if Victor Campenaerts is getting nowhere near this group, he has to call it a day.
Yeah, then it's going to be a very old-fashioned chasspatat, a potato chase, or a completely useless chase. Some last-minute gels there for Gianni Vermeers. Looks like a gel, or yeah, it's a gel. Or was it an inhaler? I don't know. Might have been a gel.
I don't think it was an inhaler. It was something
it was a gel.
He was taking or something. I don't know
what a gel.
These teams do nowadays. It's all this nutrition and things like that changes from year to year.
And what is very good is that he put the wrapper back in his back pocket, because otherwise you get a fine. We're making our way to the Hulstbergerstraat, the final climb.
Call it a day. Good effort, Victor, but maybe another day. He had to do that quickly. He had to get very close to the 7 in front, but he had to get a big gap between himself and the peloton, and that wasn't the case. So there's no point sitting it out there as a carrot for everybody else. But I wouldn't, not unless and from what we've seen so far, Jose, that Florian Vermeers has been riding. He's not been kind of holding back or anything like that. So it looks as if he's okay. It's just maybe Victor Campenaerts maybe individually decided that, you know, he wanted to have a go, but he's now back in the peloton.
This is just outside of Oud-Heverlee, where we are right now. I think it was And the Lange Rode 5, we're now making our way to Kortbeek-Dille and then up to the Hulsbergstraat. Really nice wide roads, but as we've seen in the past in this race, the final is always a nervous one when it ends in a bunch sprint. But yeah, we still got these 7 riders up front, despite this chase of the 3 riders of Intermarché, with Dries de Poter, with Arne Maritz and Dylan van der Stormen. And then the other 3 are back there. The entire Intermarché 1T team is part of that group. But we're back to the front with Van der Poel, Vermeers of the Alpecin de Koning team, Turgis here for Team Total Energie, Frank van der Broek for Team DSM, Lars Boven for Jumbo-Visma, Jacob Fuglsang for Israel Premier Tech, and Florian Vermeers for the Lotto Destiny team. And the gap is holding around the minute mark.
Yeah, I just saw that from that helicopter shot that I think there was almost about 7 riders at the front. 3 riders, that's big commitment from Intermarché, but when you consider they've got 6 riders there, why didn't they do it before? So they have got numbers, they're using them, and they're lucky that they've got a little bit of help from the likes of Little Trek. They've got Cofidis, you know, all up there, you know, trying to help Uno X as well. So they have got a little bit of help. And this is why it's holding at the moment. And it means that these guys can't kind of hang around. They have to commit. The closer they get to the finish, that they're having to think about their strategy. They might slow a little bit, thinking that there's 2 here from Alpecin de Koning, one of them being the world champion. How can I win this race? So they might slow up. But with the fact that it's been held at a minute, they cannot slow as well.
A little bit of elevation going on. This is not the Hulsbergstraat, that is coming after this little climb. We have Dan Hole there as well for Little Trek. Jonas Abrahamsen doing a fantastic job there for Uno X, despite the fact they only have 2 riders, well, Christoph and Abrahamsen. Abrahamsen did a lot of work there. Alexandre de Lettre is the rider for Cofidis, and then the entire brigade for Intermarché. It's 6. Yes, a lot.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 place. That rider at the front. Just watch the rider in red where he goes in, because that will determine how many riders are riding. So it looks as if Lido Trek have put 2 up there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is he going into 6th spot, moving, or is he moving behind into 7? So there's a lot of riders. Hopefully we'll get to see that again, and where that Uno X rider popped in there. But just watch with the rider pulling off the front where he drops into the line. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks as if 7 or 8 riders are now riding at the front of the peloton, and that's why it's kind of holding. So in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because Liepins is riding. But I think it's taking its toll. It really is taking its toll with some of these riders, especially the Intermarché riders. They're finding it very, very difficult to bring this one back.
Lars Boven, the other young Dutchman in this group, former national junior time trial champion, runner-up at the European Championships. Had a good under-23 career with stage wins in the Alsace, for example. But yeah, like I said, he's 22. This is normally the end of his under-23 years. I haven't read any rumours whether he's going to make the step up. It's, of course, pretty difficult to step up to the Jumbo-Visma World Tour team. And the youngest of them all is currently leading this group in black. The youngest and the smallest, Frank van der Broek. It's nice getting to know this young man, Brian, of the DSM team.
It is nice to see. You know, they had some options today. They came in here with, you know, options to do different things. You know, if it's more kind of punchier rider, or you know, it came down to a bunch sprint. They had it covered, but I don't think they needed any of the other riders, because this man is kind of riding out his skin today. And you know, to ride a race like this right next to the world champ, okay, he might not be in 100% form, but to be in the original breakaway, to be here now, 20 kilometres to go, not even missing a turn. It's, like I said to you before, 3 words: sign him up. And if DSM don't do it, then somebody should.
He's an IT student, started racing when he was 14 years old after tearing his ligaments in his knee, and starting bike riding as recovery. And he takes, well, he sees riders like Oscar Riesebeek, but also Elmar Reinders of Jaco Alula as examples that you can also make that step up to the highest level when you are a little bit older. We tend to nowadays, Brian, with riders like Juan Ayuso, Pogacar, Remco Evenepoel already storming onto the scene when they are 19, 20, 21 years old. We tend to think that, well, once you're 22, there's no opportunity anymore. But you must imagine that this guy came out of juniors into the under-23s. Frank van der Broek was talking about in the under-23s during the COVID years. Well, in 2020, there was hardly any race for the under-22s. 2021 was still not a great year, still a lot of cancellations. So he missed some valuable racing. And like I said, he is from the 28th of December. So he's also almost the youngest of his year. He said in the interview that I read, if I was born 4 days later, I would have had another year in the under-23 ranks. But since he was born on the 28th of December, this is going to be his last year as an under-23 rider. But he's got a 2024 contract with the DSM development team. But this ride might stir some, might turn some heads, and quite possibly some phone calls coming up. We don't know, of course, what the contract provisions are now he's on the development team.
Just watch here, Josie. Just watching this slight incline here, what happens to the front of this group, because it is coming down a little bit, 45, 46 seconds.
But this is our last climb, Brian.
Yeah, but not only will it be hurting the riders in front, it'll be hurting the riders in front of the peloton. So if you've been riding hard, and by the expressions of the riders that are at the front of the peloton, I think they're finding it hard. I counted about 8 riders that were riding. And if you've been riding hard, you come to a small climb like that, it's just a small drag, of course. Riders are starting to suffer, so... But, yeah, we're inside 20 kilometres to go now, still hanging around the kind of 50-second mark. It's not coming down quicker, although there are numbers riding at the front. And it's going to be a case, Josie, that instead of putting 3 riders up Intermarché, you know, they might have to... You know, they've got 6 riders in here. They might have to put a little bit more towards the 4. It's okay putting 2 or 3 riders in the chase, but when you see the gap not coming down and it's just kind of holding pattern, you know, where is that? Where's the energy coming from the other teams to kind of close this one down? It's look, you see Little Trek, Cofidis, Uno X are riding, but I have to heavily criticise AG2R Citroën. What the heck are they doing? There's 3 riders in there. Can they not see what's happening in front of them? Just put 1 rider up. 1. That might make the difference. I'll put 2 up and that will make the difference. But at the end of the day, they're sitting back hoping, right? Hoping that, you know, the riders that are riding at the front will bring these riders back, and, you know, they'll have 3 riders to go for good placings or for the win. But it isn't coming down. They have to understand, unless they riders or another couple of riders ride at the front of the peloton, these riders aren't coming back.
A little bit of rain here on the road. And like we discussed yesterday as well, once you are here with the sun not rising as high as it used to during the summer, these roads dry out a little bit slower. Yeah, Florian Vermeers, he has had a good few races, of course, coming 5th in the Tour of Denmark just a month ago, and also 2nd in the Renevi Tour behind Tim Wellens. So some good form there for the man of Lotto Destiny. Made the trip to Canada, part of the winning team, of course, around Arnaud Delis. And like you said, well, any of these 7 riders can actually win the bike race, but who would be the fastest when we have a sprint of 7?
In this one, it's what you got left in the legs. It's, I would say the fastest man in here is Mathieu van der Poel, hands down. But, he's like, oh no, no.
Frank. Oh, this is sad.
I was just thinking, going into that roundabout, they just have to kind of make sure that they don't take any risks, but I don't know what happened there. I hope that Shimano might help this young man, but he's just at the front there.
Slipped.
Yeah.
There's wet patches, a few dry patches there. And this also, Turgis, of course, he does a little bit of cyclocross in his career. But yeah, this is, you can see it, some parts of the road are still wet, some parts are dry. And that is a nasty wound there for Frank van der Broek, who will not get the reward for all the work that he has put in to date, sadly so.
Do you know what I was just about to say there?
And they lost some time as well. Yeah,
and they will do. I was just about to say, and Shimano not helping him at all. I was just about to say that, and it's, look at the front of the peloton, it's broken up. It's broken up. The chase has broken them. There was about 8 riders. That's what I was saying. There might have been a crash here in the peloton as well. Yep.
Same place. Maybe a little bit of like an oil spill there on the roundabout, getting extra slippery now that it's been both wet. So we've got 3 riders left there with Alexandre de Lettre. And the chase is disturbed. And at the front, they're down to 6 riders as well. And they also had to break, all 6 of them. Because Frank van der Broek was the first one in the group.
It's not often you see that one rider from 7 hit that patch. One rider in the peloton hit that patch. One rider. The chances, it must have been just a small spot, and that was it. I feel gutted for him now. I was just about to say...
I did too.
That, even if he just finishes in the top 7,
yeah,
that's a good ride.
Breakthrough performance. Because, of course, he did exactly the same thing, being in the breakaway during the national championships, which were in Limburg, and then still finishing in 8th place, hanging on to all these well-established World Tour professionals with, of course, national champion Dylan van Baarle as winner. And he did exactly the same strategy right here. And, yeah, having a 7th place in such a great field of riders would have been a nice international breakthrough there for Frank van der Broek. But sadly, not to be. This is the National Airport of Brussels. And we're back to racing here with our 6 riders right now. Turgis, Van der Poel, Vermeers, both Gianni and Florian, Volsang and Lars Boven.
What it does do, Jose, is it brings DSM back into the mix, and I don't know how many riders they had. I know that John Degenkolb was there. I don't know who the other rider was, but it does mean, yeah, that they might put Bittner up there to ride for John Degenkolb for a sprint at the end. But now 49 seconds. It's not going to come back if the same teams and the same riders are riding at the front, even with DSM, if they've only got 2 riders, as you say, that one rider isn't enough. There'll be a few teams kicking themselves at the end of the day. But going back to the young man Van der Broek, I was thinking about the kind of running. You're in a big race like this. You're with, maybe one of your heroes in Mathieu van der Poel, world champion. He's not going to hold back. For him to ride all the way to the finish, and even if he finishes 7th, that's brilliant in this company. So it's not a case of you can kind of sit on a little bit, and he's got every excuse to do that. He's been in the original breakaway. I'm just so gutted for him. That this was going to be a top 7 performance from him. Brilliant rides, and if you're not looking at him, any of the teams listening, look at that young man, because there was a while ago that I think it was Magnus Cort Nielsen. I was commentating on the race, and I said I was on the phone to one of the the sports directors that I know look at this guy, and it was in the Giro d'Italia, so he watched the stage of this race in the rest day, and they signed him up. I think it was Magnus Cort Nielsen for 3 years. So a lot of teams watch these races, and everybody knows, look at the size of the peloton. This has not been an easy race. Look at the faces on these riders at the front. Yeah, that young man has been up the road all day, and he's just crashed out the race and won't get that result. But luckily, we've got the footage to show that, you know, he's good enough.
He's the real deal.
And the other times, in times of old, most sports directors were just already interested in results. They might read the paper and see the results. Well, unfortunately for Van der Broek, he's not getting the result he should have had today.
Well, Frank van der Broek, 22 years of age, just part of a continental team only a few months ago. So such a big margin to grow. He will land right on his feet somewhere. We are convinced of that. But we're going towards the final 10 kilometers of this Super 8 Classic, named after one of the beer brands of the Haagt Beer Brewery. With these 6 riders, Turgis, with Jacob Fuglsang, Florian Vermeers, Gianni Vermeers, Mathieu van der Poel and Lars Boven. 2 Dutchmen, 2 Belgians, a Danish and a French rider up front. 41 seconds. There is chasing in the peloton. We don't have any climbs left to go. We're making our way to Boortmeerbeek, which is our finish town just outside the gates of the brewery. And the next town we are getting through is Kamperhout Sas, and that was the birthplace of Raymond Impanis, who was the original name giver of this race. Only a couple of years it was called the Grand Prix Impanis. And Raymond Impanis, just like Peter van Petegem, is a winner of both Roubaix and Flanders, albeit, unlike van Petegem, not in the same year. And van Petegem did it twice as well in Roubaix. Yeah, it's hard to ascertain who out of these 6 riders after the race that we had, Brian, because the final basically started 80 kilometers from the line. 2 hours of final.
It did. Having 2 riders in here, I do favour Alpes and De Koning. I'm not going to pick either because I really do think that both have got that opportunity. But the thing is, with 45 seconds, they can't play the kind of tactical game. I do think that Fuglsang is looking strong. Turgis is looking good. Bova at the back there is probably the weakest link that they've got. Vermeers from Lotto Destiny, he is riding strong. You just said, you know, his recent results, he's riding super strong. So I think they'll be eyeing each other up, but I just think that having 2 riders here, it might make the difference for Alpes and De Koning.
Alexandre de Lettre, Dan Hole, Emils Lipins, Abrahamsen are the riders at the front. Yeah, we got 2 riders called Vermeers at the front. The C and the H at the end of their name are completely useless because they are silent. You might as well just not write them at all. It's just Vermeers. De Lettre, yeah, Cofidis, who is he working for? Is Kokar still in this group? Have you seen him?
I think he has to. He had a mechanical and, you know, tried to go on the attack. There's the team in white that I've
there he is on the wheel of Christophe.
Yeah, he had a problem, and now the problem's okay. But not okay for Mathieu van der Poel.
Oops.
He's got them back.
Yeah. He could have gone on the grassy bit as well. He would not have been faced by that either. But you never know what's there. I mean, there might be tyres or hubcaps or whatever stuck there. 39 seconds, Brian. This is, well, according to VeloViewer, the wind is coming from the east right now, but it's not really all that strong. So it's a little bit of a crosswind. A tailwind would have been very useful for these 6 leaders, but 40 seconds, 8.7 kilometers to go. It's not 100% over just yet for the peloton.
I think it is. I really do.
Trying to get the suspension here. Come on.
Yeah, no, they're not. Look, Boven is tiring, but he's still trying to contribute. But even finishing top 6 would be good enough for him.
Yeah.
you know, just looking at his body language, he's absolutely hanging. On these long kind of straight roads in towards the finish, the peloton will see them. But I think that the firepower is here to deliver the win. Where it's going to come from, they can't mess around. If you go back to the peloton, it looks as if we've only got one Intermarché rider prepared to ride. It does need a last-ditch effort from the likes of AG2R or something to come up and try and bring them back. But we're 8 kilometres to go. We're in the same scenario. I said it's been a holding pattern. We're riding about 40, 50. You know, Liepin's, his day is gone as well. He's spent. So slowly but surely, some of the riders from the front of the peloton are starting to think this. Yeah, I can't keep this pace going.
Yeah, but I understand your frustration with AG2R. They have. I have seen Oliver Nase, Stan de Wolf. I think the other rider is Antoine Rouchel. Who's going to do a sprint for them?
I'll tell you what I would do. Right, Bovin is clearly struggling. Right.
Yep.
Look at the yellow jerseys of Jumbo-Visma. Christophe Laporte is there.
Yep.
Right.
One of the big
35
favourites.
seconds. Yeah, 35 seconds. Jumbo-Visma tell Bovan, no more work. You're absolutely hanging. Put the team on the front. Bring it back, and they win. That's the only scenario I can see in that group behind. The only scenario, because the current scenario, they aren't coming back. But under Jumbo-Visma, yeah, but I'm just worried about these damp roads in the run into the finish. It was the same last year, wasn't it, where we had crashes?
Yeah, quite a big... yeah, they just missed the rain, apparently. Yeah, Bovin is not going to contribute anything to this group anymore. But 30 seconds, these are completely dead. 30 seconds, Brian. I think the peloton is coming back. Gianni Vermeers, Florian Vermeers, Jakob Fuglsang, Mathieu van der Poel, Turgis and Lars Boven. Oh, this is tricky in the streets here of Kampenhout. There we are, Alexandre de Lettre. What a job by him today. Same can be said of Jonas Abrahamsen. They've got their sprinters, both Kokar and Alexander Kristoff, still in this group. John Degenkolb is still here as well. We've got a little bit of an attack. The rider for Intermarché is Dylan van der Storme. He's a rider of their talent team, Circus Rius. Fantastic ride there by Dylan van der Storme today. Riding with the big boys. 27 seconds, 6 kilometres to go. That flat finale might just be the nail in their coffin. Oof. Yeah, lovely. I was just about to say, Brian, there's an awful lot of cars still behind these 6 riders, but it would have been better that on the main road that we just were, that they would have overtaken the group right there. I think the judges, the commissaires, left it indeed a little bit late.
Probably in that scenario, the commissaire should have popped in front, put a motorbike commissaire in there and left Shimano, because the last thing you want is somebody having a bit of a problem and no service car, but they've got a service bike there, so like you said, just use the wider roads and leave the commissaire bike and the neutral service bikes.
I think we'll have to hand out this. Never mind the result of Alexander Kristoff today, but a big MVP award there for Jonas Abrahamsen. Uno-X, only 2 riders in this group, but Jonas Abrahamsen did an awful lot of work right there.
Well, look at Victor Kampenaerts, sitting third wheel, which means that they've got it back down. I think a few riders have absolutely emptied themselves, but Intermarché have only got 2 riders. Now they've only got 1, so this gap could go out again.
Yeah, it's still not closed.
It's bridgeable for that scenario I said about Jumbo-Visma. If the call has been made, then 25 seconds is doable. What is Bovin going to do?
The final 5 kilometres of a very active Super 8 Classic, 203.6 kilometres with a lot of climbs, and in that hilly zone we ended up with this breakaway of 7 riders. Sadly, young Frank van der Broek of DSM literally crashed out, and we're left with Lars Boven in the yellow of Jumbo-Visma, the world champion, and his teammate Gianni Vermeers, Jakob Fuglsang, Anthony Turgis and Florian Vermeers. In the peloton, Yeah, they left to chase really, really late. The GPS indicates 20 seconds. We've got some big name sprinters in the peloton with Christophe Laporte, Arnaud Desmar there in 4th position. Jasper Stuyven is here, John Degenkolb, Brian Coquard, Mats Mikkels, Laporte, I already mentioned him. So some of the main sprinters there. Last year, this race was won by Jordi Meijers. Luca Meskec is there for Jake Lula. Last year, this race was won by Jordi Meijers. Alexander Kristoff was right in the action, but there was a big crash at 2 kilometers from the line, taking out Alexander Kristoff. So that may be time for revanche there for the Stavanger Stallion, as my colleague as Escape likes to call him. 3.8 kilometers to go. The peloton cannot play poker, but the 6 riders at the front, they can't play poker either. The gap is awfully small, but there's also just 3.7 kilometers left. It could still fall both ways, Brian.
With the Intermarché rider at the frontier is just trying to empty himself. How long can he keep this going? No one else coming up to help him for the moment, holding it at 20 seconds. So there's some of the sprinters kind of moved up just in case, but I'll say it again, unless you chase, you aren't going to bring these riders back, and everybody's kind of sitting back now and coming back onto this kind of main road. In the last kind of 3 kilometres, Intermarché have tried, but it's to no avail, and Victor Campenaerts is just kind of letting the gap go now. So I think that seems the end of the chase from the peloton.
It's Aimé de Gent. He's already done so much work at the front. Victor Campenaerts, Dimitri Peiskens, Desmar, 163 is Dujardin. We have more riders moving up, Coquard, and of course the sprinters in this group. They start to think of their options for a sprint. We also have Gonzalo Serrano there. The 4 riders for Jumbo-Visma with Laporte, their sprinter, with number 43 also still there. 2.7 kilometers to go. The gap is 16 seconds according to the GPS. I'll see at this bus station how big it is exactly here on the, well, climb. It's not a climb really, but it will still hurt the legs because we are 200 kilometers into the race. Maybe we'll get the peloton at the bus station as well to see what the gap actually is. But oh, these roads are slippery.
Bowen is still riding here. They're just going on to this kind of fly over, turning right here. Yeah. So the gap has come down. But you can see all the Lotto Destiny just trying to kind of block things off a little bit. There's these Lampard just going round here at the front, just slowing up ever so slightly and giving them that little bit of like. If it's only 15 seconds, it's Lampard is just chasing these guys down, but this technical run in, very difficult to bring them back.
Yeah, it was 2k to go and the gap was 20 seconds, and where they just really took caution there is where that big crash happened.
Here we go.
And now we have the final of the Super 8. We're on this industrial estate, making our way to the beer brewery of Primus Hacht. And Gianni Vermeer is going through that corner with great ease. Of course, he's got that cyclocross background as well. Florian Vermeers is trying to counter. We have had races before where Gianni Vermeers was first and Florian Vermeers was second, or the other way around, actually, in the Antwerp-Port Epic last year. But it's Gianni Vermeers, Florian Vermeers and Mathieu van der Poel now going into the final kilometre, Brian.
Yeah, that was a good move because they recognised that Bowen wasn't the strongest rider. He was propped on the front, and this is where we go through this industrial estate back onto the kind of finishing straight. I think Fuglsang is going to have a crack at this, but Bowen, Tour just has to be aware here because he's got a kind of weaker rider right in front of him, but I'm pretty sure that Fuglsang is going to try something soon. He cannot wait too long, 1 kilometre to go.
Yeah, there is the Flamme Rouge. It's a little bit hidden there on the left side of the road. Gianni Vermeers is completely emptying himself for the world champion, his teammate, Mathieu van der Poel. Florian Vermeers glancing over his shoulder. Fuglsang in 4th position. Lars Boven in 5th. And Turgis in last position. Very tricky there on the white stripes with the rain that has been. But these are the cameras at the finish line. Gianni Vermeers, he's doing everything to get that first victory for his teammate in the rainbow stripes. It's a perfect position right now for Mathieu van der Poel. The peloton is also in this shot, but they will be too late. They just left the chase too late. Mathieu van der Poel in third position. When is he going to launch that sprint? We still have Lars Boven there in the yellow, full sung for Israel Premetek and Turgis, and there is that first sprint by Florian Vermeers, and it has to be Mathieu van der Poel who has to go past Florian Vermeers on his way to his first victory in the rainbow stripes. And of course everybody loves this. It is the 16th of September and the world champion wins for the first time in his rainbow jersey. Well done, Gianni Vermeers. That was good work. And then it's Alexander Kristoff winning the sprint of the peloton ahead of Luka Meskec and Florian Sénéchal. But yeah, there's probably going to be some evaluation there for the Intermarché team.
That's
mostly.
Very polite. That's very polite. I think knocking their heads together with some of them. But he gets his win. The world champion, his first victory in the rainbow bands. And yeah, he has to kind of thank a little bit Gianni Vermeers. Gianni Vermeers. He went to try and kind of win the race himself, and he was taken back. I don't know what Florian Vermeers won. He pretty much led out the sprint there. He went from about 300 metres to go.
Well, there's a lot of beer there to to be consumed in celebration of this great day for Mathieu van der Poel. He said before the start, Brian, I'm not really interested in whether I win my first race in the rainbow bands, but this is, of course, a wonderful moment to do it still in 2023 as world champion.
Did you see his reaction there at the finish?
Yep.
That tells a different story.
He's, of course, a winner. And from the moment I saw the images from the start and I saw it was time for the white bibs with Mathieu van der Poel, all the way back to his double stint as a national champion, white bibs means business in Mathieu van der Poel's world.
I'm looking forward to his interview because that wasn't easy. That was not easy for him. He made two big accelerations. He went from way out. He was clearly not on the best form, but Mathieu van der Poel is so special that even when he's not 100%, he can deliver the victory.
Well, Mathieu van der Poel does it. Wins the Super 8 Classic as a world champion. It's sad that we didn't get the Wout van Aert, Mathieu van der Poel battle. Van Aert being a little bit ill. Mathieu van der Poel not going to the European Championships. Why would he? Because, well, he doesn't get to wear the jersey anyways, because next year the European Championships will be before the World Championships again. While the European champion got to wear the jersey 13 months, he gets to wear the World Championships jersey 30 months. The sprint, Brian.
It's straightforward, wasn't it? Florian Vermeers went about 300 metres out and already gaps full sang, just couldn't go. Turgis did a good job here. He was nowhere and manages to come up, I think, into second place. But that was a long sprint. Florian Vermeers just got a little bit too excited there. Manages to hang on to third. Maybe in his mind he thought he'd have to go a long sprint, but I'd have probably kind of left, tried to get the element of surprise, but no, nothing at all. So Gianni Vermeers done his job. Turgis, he had a good sprint in the end, but the world champion punches the air, loving it.
What a rider. Yeah, this facial expression says it all, Brian. All the talk before the start. I'm not really concerned about the stories about whether I should win in my rainbow jersey. This tells a little bit of a different story. But a big hug there. Yeah, big hug there to Gianni Vermeers, who was absolutely instrumental. Remember, like you said, Gianni Vermeers was the man opening the attacks, actually, for the opposite, the Koenig team.
If they'd hesitated, he would have gone, but it just dove the cap from the world champion. That was a nice gesture, but when he went to try and win the race. Florian Vermeers brought him back, but also brought Mathieu van der Poel back into play. But it means, I know that Fuglsang looks strong today, but they couldn't mess around because the gap was coming down. A few teams weren't at the races today and have to kind of look at themselves in the mirror because they never contributed. Okay, it's a harsh call when Boven was up there and coming into the finish, a young man.
Mathieu van der Poel, proficiat, de eerste in de regenboog.
Congratulations, you're first in the rainbow jersey. How does it feel?
Fijn, vooral onverwachts nog. Dus
yeah, it feels great, unexpected as well.
And those are the best wins. Met Gianni was dat een vooraf
some great teamwork there with Gianni.
Wel om met 2 meter zitten naar de heuvels.
Yeah, it was the plan to have two up front.
Deze overwinning is zeker 50% zijn aandeel. Dus
is absolutely 50% his doing.
And I really thank him for that. Vroeg laten zien hoe goed je was. Wist je dat meteen vandaag als je startte? Dit voelt beter aan dan de voorbije wedstrijden?
Nou, niet echt. Maar natuurlijk voel ik wel dat ik wat wedstrijden nodig had om terug die hard te
needed a few races to get back.
Eigenlijk na de heuvelzone was het beste er wat af bij mij.
The best
voordat ik nog een ploeg
was gone in me, but I was really fortunate to have a teammate who especially in the end controlled really well.
Het wordt heel leuk om te winnen.
Die voorsprong is nooit echt veel groter geweest dan 1 minuut. Voelde je dat jullie echt wel moesten blijven gas geven? Voelde je,
did you feel that you just had to keep riding in that breakaway?
Ik heb hier al een paar keer gereden.
Yes, this is not my first time here.
Naar de heuvelsone met een groepje, maar altijd
and that was also that I attacked after the hill zone, but I was caught in the past.
Een sterke groep weg waren, met goed wat hardrijders, dus
I felt that we had a group there with some riders who could really ride fast.
Heel blij om het af te maken.
But I'm really happy to finish it off. Werd daar goed over overlegd dan ook samen?
Yeah, was there good cooperation at the front?
Ja, iedereen daar hetzelfde idee had.
Everybody had the same idea in that group. Just race as hard as possible and play the game
maar ik denk dat
in the end.
Voelde dag toch wel Gianni is als ik
But
daar
my big advantage was having Gianni there.
Heel blij dat ik het nog kan afmaken.
Just one question in English. Mathieu van der Poel, this is your first victory in the rainbow jersey. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels really good. It's a race I love. Especially the middle part is something I really like here. I've done it a few times now, but I was always caught back before the finish line after the hilly zone. And today we had a really good group that went to the finish line, and I'm happy to finish off the team's work today.
Congratulations, Mathieu.
It was a good call by you, Brian, that after the hill zone, you already said that the best was already gone for Van der Poel, and he confirmed that in the interview, that he just didn't feel his best after the attacks that he placed, especially on the Moskestraat. The top 10, Mathieu van der Poel, Anthony Turgis, Florian Vermeers, Lars Boven, Jakob Fuglsang, Gianni Vermeers, Alexander Kristoff, Luca Meskec, Florian Sénéchal and Sandy Dujardin, 2 riders for Team Total Energie in the top 10. But the winner is the world champion, his first one in the rainbow bands. And he kept on repeating how happy he was that he could finish it off today. Got Brussels on the horizon here. And some prime training roads there if you want to do your efforts there alongside the canal.
Yeah, a long straight road, isn't it?
Perfect for efforts. Try doing efforts when you have traffic lights everywhere. It's not going to happen. Yeah, we got the highlights of this Super 8 Classic. 203.6 kilometers between Brakel, the home of Peter van Petergem, and the beer brewery of Haagt in Boortmeerbeek. Originally, we had a breakaway of 3 riders. Frank van der Broek, Majes Botnar, Gilles de Wilde. They never really got a big gap. The first attack from Mathieu van der Poel came at 75 kilometers from the finish line. He joined that breakaway with Gilles de Wilde and Frank van der Broek for Team DSM. And then we had the moment they were caught, both Van der Broek and Van der Poel. Gianni Vermeers instigated a new attack together with Turgis, Fuglsang and Frank van der Broek. And here we are on the Moskestraat. This is 53 kilometers from the line. And this is the moment that Mathieu van der Poel bridges across to that first group. He bridges across 25 seconds. Joining him are Florian Vermeers and also Lars Boven. So we end up with 7 riders at the front. There was an official chasse patate or a completely useless chase by Victor Kampenaerts. And Alexandre de Lettre doing a lot of work there at the front for Cofidis, for Coquard. Really sad moment here to see Frank van der Broek, the 22-year-old revelation of this race, crash out on that roundabout, and then we end up with 6th. The gap was coming down to 15 or just 20 seconds to the peloton, but they never managed to really close that gap. And then we're into the finish straight on that long road to the brewery. Gianni Vermeers is worth his weight in gold, and Mathieu van der Poel thanked him. He said, at least 50% of my win today is thanks to Gianni. Florian Vermeers does a very good lead out there for the world champion, and in the final 100 meters, there's only one more thing to do for Mathieu van der Poel, who started today in white bib shorts, and white bib shorts mean business in Mathieu van der Poel's world, and he finishes off nicely with Turgis in 2nd place and Vermeers, Florian Vermeers, in 3rd place. That is the result. The first time a world champion wins the Super 8 Classic, previously known as the Primus Classic or the Grand Prix Raymond Impanis. A nice win. It means a lot. We can see the fist there. We heard the interview. He's not at 100%, but he's still Mathieu van der Poel. And Mathieu van der Poel just wants to win bike races. And that's what he did right well. Of course, tomorrow we have the final stage of the Vuelta. If you haven't watched it yet, of course, it's available on all our digital platforms. And tomorrow we go to Madrid with somebody in a red jersey. I'm not going to tell you who that is going to be. Brian is on the edge of his seat. He doesn't want to know.
No, I'm not. I catch up in the evenings in the Vuelta, so I don't like any spoilers. That's my entertainment for the evening, so don't tell me.
I'm not telling you anything. I'm not telling you anything. But we will be talking about this Vuelta for some time after all the drama that played out between, inside the Jumbo-Visma team. There will be analysis, podcasts, and of course, in the breakaway, we had Sean Kelly with a really good breakdown of all the action. So watch the highlights, but also watch the show with Orla, with Sean Kelly, with Dan, and with Adam. And you find yourself there, waiting for the podium. In 3rd place, Florian Vermeers. And there's already a keg of beer there waiting for them. Anthony Turgis. And then the winner. And of course, this is what the people came to see. And there he is. He already changed into some new kit, as we can see. Some fresh bibs there in black for the podium. And of course, racing a skin suit during the race, and now has bibs and a jersey.
Om de bloemen te overhandigen aan Florian Vermeers. Dus zij heeft de eer en het genoegen om de felicitaties over te maken. En uiteraard de 3 zoenen, dat hoort er allemaal bij. Ook mevrouw de burgemeester uit Boortmeerbeek, mevrouw Karin Derua, heeft de eer en het
this is the mayor of Boortmeerbeek, handing the flowers there to Turgis.
En mevrouw Ans Gevenels heeft nogmaals het genoegen om de winnaar, de prachtige ruiker, te overhandigen. Met uw applaus, dames en heren.
Yeah, he is, Mathieu van der Poel is well liked in Belgium. Of course, he grew up in Belgium. We're not going to say he's half Belgian. He's absolutely ours, but he's very well liked in Belgium. Lovely beer brewing kettle trophy there. That goes in our assortment, Brian, of weird trophies. I think right next to the olive that we had all the way at the start of the season in the south of Spain, in Jaén.
mag nog een laatste
I would put that on my mantelpiece.
En ook de
The Gilded Kettle.
Van der Bossen heten we hier van harte welkom op het podium. En dan
it's a really smelly procedure, you know that, brewing beer.
Yeah, you always tell as you ride past certain places, you can smell it.
Aan onze top 3. We hebben de eer en het genoegen om de burgemeester van Haag, de heer Steven Swiggers.
And there is beer for the winner. It's a really small glass. We have seen in the past that we had these huge glasses of beer, but this just goes down in a second. Ad fundum.
Well, let's see who's going to win this race. I doubt Van der Poel will win it because he's got black shorts on.
Mag ik nog een daverend applaus voor Florian Vermeers, Anthony Dursus en de winnaar, Mathieu Van der Poel.
He's not going for it anyways.
I told you.
Yeah, yes.
Vermeers won that one.
Yep. Bravo. And half of the glass there for Turgis.
Voilà.
But a great podium and a great race here in Boord-Meer-Beek in Vlaams-Brabant. Got some more races in Belgium coming up, but the season is close, drawing to an end right now. But yeah, we've still got so much for you to go, so keep an eye on our schedule. Brian and I will be back next Saturday, really early from Malaysia. So I'll see you next Saturday, Brian. And well,